Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. And for today's episode, we have something pretty special lined up for you. We are going to give you a sneak peek at one of our Summit Talks sessions. That's right. We have our Summit Talks Summit going live, and I want to give you a sneak peek at it. So you're going to get the audio version of this episode, but what I want you to do is make sure you head over to summittalks.online to get access to all of the amazing Summit Talk sessions and video sessions waiting for you over there. So in the meantime, enjoy this audio version of another amazing Summit Talks. Is your audience comprised of industry professionals? Want to become the celebrity in your niche while helping serve them in a new way? Our next guest originally had a 2-day in-person event that he converted into a virtual summit. If you want to serve professionals, grow your influence, and be rewarded in the process, then this session is for you. Hey there, Summit hosts. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software, CEO of Viral Summits, and your host here on Summit Talks, the largest, most impactful virtual summit for summit hosts. Now, we're in for a treat today because we have legendary Ernie Simpson with us, founder of the law firm Autopilot. In his industry, Ernie has been way ahead of the tech curve. He created a paperless law practice in 2001 and was the 5th lawyer to start a web blog back in 2002. The American Bar Association also gave Ernie their Trainer of the Year in 2017. So grab your pen, grab your paper, because we're in for a treat today. Ernie, thanks so much for being here with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mark, and thanks for creating this amazing software that saved my ass.
Woo! We'll take that. I'll take that. Absolutely. Well, we're gonna get into the details of your summit and how you built it and what you did to really help a very niche and professional group in your industry. But before we do that, I'd love for you to just take a few more moments and tell our summit hosts just a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So I am a lawyer who started working in a big firm, worked there for 18 years, grew to hate it, the mindless bureaucracy, the ridiculous overhead. And because of being paperless and learning how to be paperless and use technology, I realized wow, I can just go out on my own and be a solo lawyer and operate more efficiently with lower overhead and all that good stuff. That was way before Dropbox and the cloud became as good as it is now. So I skated to where the puck was going to be by leaping out of the building without a parachute. And by the time I got near the ground, the parachute opened and all was good. So, other lawyers said, hey, that's kind of weird that you were able to do that. Could you explain to us how we do that? So I started giving talks, got invited to more and more talks because people saw that this was a thing. And then I decided, well, I'm just going to put on my own events because instead of waiting to get invited, that's stupid. I'll just put on my own event. And I was even able to offer continuing legal education credit by applying for that and figuring out how to do that. And so it just took off. But those were in-person events, and they were great. It grew as I learned marketing. And so we hadn't done one in 2 years, and that's when we were going to do one this year. So we're coming back, bringing in the team. Mike Kim, who I know had been a speaker. And we're like, this is going to be great. We're going to do it in New Orleans. We're going to bring people back. We're going to invite some new people. It's going to be amazing. And we had invested a lot of time and effort and everything into it. And we were set to not make one single dime, which I kind of going in, I was like, that's fine. It'll be a lead generator. But instead, we had to do it virtually. And oh my God, it was so much more successful financially, but it had the same effect, right? We got a lot of people, we educated, and then now people are asking me once again, as they did with other things like the web and with being paperless, okay, well, so how do we do this online stuff? And I'm like, well, number one, go check out this really cool tool that I use, which, I mean, it made my life so much easier. When I show people what it can do, they're like, oh my God, yeah, I'd like to be able to communicate with speakers by pushing a button and telling them that they didn't send me stuff that I need, So it was a real learning experience, but it was fun. And we made money, which we wouldn't have done if we had done it live.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Making money is fun too, and really happy to hear the positive feedback on the software. That's what it's there to make hosting a summit quicker and easier than ever before. But with that being said, it takes somebody with creativity, a vision, and the tenacity to pull it through, because it's still not easy even with the software. It makes it easier, but there's still a lot that goes into it, which you were able to do. Now, I love this too, because we have a lot of our summit hosts that are tuning into this. Some of them are also in professional niches, health professional niches, financial professional niches. And a lot of them I know, because I've heard from them go, well, I can't do that, or that won't work in my industry or niche. Mm-hmm. And you're living proof that it can happen. Now, you're one of the crazy ones like the rest of us who think outside the box. So talk to us. Let's actually talk about that. Let's just address that right now. For those people who are going, well, my industry, they're not techie, or we're too professional, or this has never been done before, what would you say to them?
Well, okay, so one big lesson I've learned from technology in general, and this helps me anytime I'm doing something new, is that you have to step back and think, let me purge any assumptions I had about how things have to happen here based on how they happened elsewhere. So I thought, well, okay, first of all, two people in my industry who are big organizations, huge organizations, had done these kind of events right before me. And I asked the folks who were participants, how did it go? They're like, oh my God, it was insane, because we used Zoom and we ran Zoom the whole time, and that was a headache. And I thought, okay, I was thinking I was going to have to use Zoom. And I could use it, and I did, but I used it in the way that you had recommended. So the first thing I did was get the course that's free that came with it. And I went through it multiple times until I understood when you were saying about best practices. And I said to myself, well, Mark has done this. Why would I try to cram a square peg into a round hole if Mark has said the hole is diagonal and it works like this? So one of the big assumptions was that idea that the speakers needed to be live, which I for sure would have gone down that path, was trying to go down that path. But then when I realized, like, well, I'll just pre-record it like it seems to be the normal thing to do. And then I thought, well, now I'll solve for, well, how do I make it live in some way? And I said, well, I'll make it live by having a 2-hour Zoom meeting each day. And I expanded it to 3 days. I also did that. But I didn't make it 3 days worth of live Zooms. I made it 2 days, and the third day was a bonus, like here's a bunch of free content, which gave me the opportunity to create more speakers. So more speakers were introduced, but the live stuff was just 2-hour Zooms. And it was at the end of the day, more or less, each day, so that people could communicate. And the only hitch was that day one of the Zoom. So day one, when we ran our Zoom that day, we had like some wobbliness, and it was like, I was, thinking, is this me? Did I screw this up? And then when I looked at Zoom's record there were problems. Zoom had a major outage that day. And I even took a screenshot of the visual, and there's this huge spike. And I shared it with people. I said, look, I'm so sorry, but this is what happened. And people were like, oh, we don't care. It was so great. That was fabulous. Well, I don't control the internet, and obviously neither does Zoom, okay? So other than the fact that a few people, 3 maybe, out of the over 100 that had signed up to pay, who paid to sign up, they had their own issues, and I dealt with that. But it was great because we could deal with those issues without the worry that we were attending to all these other things that were happening in real time. So there were really like no big issues. And my wife Donna laughs because I take 1 nap per day, usually like 20 minutes or so. I took 2 naps both of those days. So
Yeah.
everybody got what they wanted. And yeah, we had to deal with some people who couldn't wrap their head around. So wait, how is this going to work? There's going to be these videos, but they're not going to be live. Well, how are we going to attend? And so I said, look, just attend. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. And everybody got it. It was fine. We had a Slack group. That was also another thing we added into it. So Slack was a big part of it. And so I was able to promise them, look, throughout the day, you're going to be able to engage with me through Slack, through Zoom. And in fact, I even had a Zoom meeting running the whole time, which is kind of like my office hours, in case people wanted to pop in. And Donna manned that when I was taking a nap. Otherwise, nobody really showed up because they were busy watching the recordings. And that was amazing. And then the other thing about the recordings was I thought, it's going to be kind of weird if I interview people. Like, that's not what I'm used to. But hey, I'll give people an option. So I said to the tech savvy lawyers who are mostly tech savvy presenters, Mike Kim being one, he wasn't a lawyer, but I said, Mike, if you want to just record your own presentation and give it to me, that's great. And he goes, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Well, he doesn't do it. Then at the last minute, he's like, can we just record this live? I'm like, yeah. And by that point, I had been recording these as interviews, and it became something I got really good at. It's really not even that hard, as I know you know. It's just like record, chop off the first part, chop off the back part, upload slides. I got really good at it. It made everything uniform, and people loved it. They were like, it was so great, because it wasn't a boring presentation of a speaker. It was you engaging with them and highlighting what they know. And they liked it more. Who knew? Like, I didn't expect that, but that's it. Like, you obviously understood how it's best done, and I just followed the path you had laid down. And then I watched other people tell me, like, I don't think that's going to work. Well, it did work. If you want to make it harder on yourself and do it all live and everything else, go for it, buddy. Go for it.
No, that's actually quite funny, Ernie, and true. Like, yeah, you can make this as complex and as difficult as you want, or you can make it as simple as you want. And I understand, like, for most summit hosts on their first summit, like, especially our clients, we work with a lot of clients that are, we're running their summits for them, and it's like everything in the entire world matters right now. But I've run over 40 summits, and at this point, it's like I know what to do. And it's like on some of the summits, I'm like, as long as it gets into this radar, this level, I'm good. We're good here. Now, you've mentioned several things I want to dive into and talk about, because these are unique and creative sides to summit, which are not, I would say, are on the more unique side. Mm-hmm. So first off, you mentioned that this was a paid summit. So yeah, this is probably possible for all of you, but especially if you're in a professional niche, you should consider this. So talk us through, what was that concept? How'd you come up with it? What did you charge? Was there pushback, not pushback, et cetera?
Well, again, I worked off of what I learned in your little presentation, and you said, you can have a free thing and you can have a regular price, whatever. So I looked at it and I thought, okay, if there's a higher level, they get more bonuses. And so I figured out what those bonuses would be. Well, for me, the bonuses were going to be X, Y, and by the way, so I had charged $850 was what I was charging people to sign up for the live event. So if I didn't want those people to run away, I had to come up with something that was worth $850 so that I could tell them, look, you're going to get this, all that value you're going to get by coming live, but minus the travel and all that other stuff. So if you would like, we'll just keep your money. And they said, yeah, that's great. So those were some extra bonuses that weren't necessarily obvious to the people who are signing up for the first time. So I just gave them some additional training after the fact. But for what was visible for people signing up from scratch using your software, it was you register for free and you get those bonuses. You don't get to see anything, but they don't know that right away. Because what I realized when I looked at your software was it says at the top, register. And I just use one of the standard landing pages. And it says register. And they go, oh, I'm registering. But then they learn, because it's redirected to the page, like, do you want to get the regular price or the other one? And then they see what they get. Well, for the regular price, you get to watch the recordings during those time windows. So, for example, and this is before you had that ability to set it to a particular time, which actually I thought I wanted, and now I'm thinking I wouldn't really even want that. But it was nice, it was there. But I just took, okay, morning, afternoon, morning, afternoon. So morning, there's some topics that are all related, and you get that in the morning. You watch that from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. you can watch these other ones, but you have to watch them in that window. That's the lowest cost price. That was $195. And some people, very few, opted for that. But what was great is your software kind of keeps reminding them, hey, do you want to upgrade? So I figured that would take care of itself, and it mostly did. And then I had connected it to my email service. And then in my email service, I created 3 different sequences. One for people who were freebies but hadn't upgraded to anything. And they were constantly, so this was the part that required work.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
So all the work I would have had to have done live, I just did by creating these email sequences in ConvertKit, which is my email service. And it was just a series of emails reminding them of all this amazing stuff and all the stuff that the speakers were going to talk about. And I worked with my person that helps me with automation, my virtual assistant who does ConvertKit stuff, and she helped guide me and connect things and make sure it all worked. So if they were in the freebie, and then they could upgrade. And if they upgraded, then they wouldn't get the freebie related emails, they would get the other stuff. But as long as they hadn't purchased the highest level, they were always being kind of prompted to upgrade. And so it was amazing. The people who signed up for free upgraded along the way or at the last minute. And I made a lot of money. Really easily.
There's
really easily.
That's the goal right there. So the other 2 things you mentioned that I think are very interesting. A lot of summit hosts use a Facebook group to drive the traffic in, and that's where they do the comments, the lives, the chats, things like that. You mentioned a Slack group, which is a kind of another level of prestige or a different venue or way to do it. I've seen other summit hosts use WhatsApp or a Telegram or Signal for private chats, like in the crypto space and things like that. So talk to us about the Slack group. Yeah. Was it easy? Did everybody understand it? Feedback with positives, negatives?
Yeah. So the last time we had done this event live, when Mike Kim spoke live in New Orleans, we set up Slack. So Slack wasn't as popular as it is now. And we were just like, hey, let's try this thing. It'll be kind of cool. It'll let people talk to each other, during the conference. Let's see how that goes. And so people kind of liked it. I didn't really understand how to leverage it. But between that time and now, I had started a monthly coaching group, and Slack is part of it. So there's all this discussion. There's all these channels. It's all really great. I know how to use it really well. And I figured I'll just create a private channel for this. And anybody who is in that coaching program who buys this will get added. So that's a benefit to them. But it constrains everybody into one place where these discussions could happen, right? And so the speakers could be added there as well. But I also had sponsors. I didn't mention this. So sponsors had said, so this was a tension I had when it was a live event. This is why this is like mind blowing. This is like going into hyperspace to do a virtual conference, because I had sponsors. And when it was a live event, these sponsors were like, yeah, I want to come to New Orleans. It's going to be great. We'll have fun. And I charged a lot of money for the sponsors because I had to cover these costs that I thought I was going to have. Now and the sponsors were all like, I want to be a speaker. I'm like, well, I only have so much time that I can allocate in 2 days for you to be a speaker. And I don't even know if you're a good speaker or not, right? So now I took all the sponsors, some of whom gave me the money and didn't care if they were a speaker. And I said, look, you know what? You're going to be a speaker because we're going to do this interview. I'm going to interview you unless you have some topic. And some of them did. And it worked great because now it equalized this thing, because I didn't have to rely on them being good on stage by themselves. I could say, I'm going to let you talk for however long it makes sense for you to talk. That was another thing. We're not constrained by this needs to hit 30 minutes. Oh, wait, that speaker's taking too long. And that's another thing that people who ran these events live told me that they had problems with, with like, oh, the speaker's running too long and I had to like text them and try to get their attention. No, it doesn't matter. It's pre-recorded and it's however long it is. Okay. And so all that stuff was great. The sponsors got to speak, and that's why I added a third day, because I could put some of the sponsors on the third day. But the bottom line was the people who paid the full amount got access to the recordings for life. And so they didn't care. They watched what they wanted to watch when they wanted to watch it, and they circled back to watch the other stuff later. The sponsors were happy. The sponsors who didn't think they were going to speak were ecstatic. And it was all magical.
And the Slack channel worked out well. Everybody was able to were speakers in there as well?
Yeah. And speakers were in there. I mean, some people like Mike, as an example, he's not somebody, he was in it when he did it live. He doesn't, he's efficient with his time, so he doesn't wander around other people's Slack stuff. But he was there. Some of the speakers, if they're not familiar with it, weren't, but some of them were. And one or two of the sponsors loved that they could just hang out in there and answer questions and observe. And the ones that were really smart were like, oh, here's a conversation where we can add value without being annoying and everything else. And so the ones who understand marketing loved it. And I told them, look, as part of your deal, you can be in that channel, or I'll let you be in the Slack group in general for, 6 months or whatever. Now, some of them have stopped doing it. They've forgotten about it, whatever, they moved on. That's fine. But at the time, they said, oh, that's great, that I can get all that extra value. So I think you got to give them multiple ways for people to engage. But in my opinion, as somebody who's come to understand the value of Slack or Microsoft Teams, if that's what you're using, it preserves those little chunks of conversations that people have, and it's searchable, right? So in that channel, and plus when people ask questions, this is another thing that happened. When people ask questions, I saved all the questions, which you can do in Slack, right? And so then when Zoom came around, when time came to have the Zoom conversation, I just said, here are the questions. In fact, what I did was I copied all those questions out, put them in a document, shared them with the speakers, and I said, hey, speakers, here are all the questions that have been going on in Slack in one document. So now when we do our Zoom call, and we did breakout rooms, and we put the speakers or sponsors in breakout rooms according to their topic, we said, these are the questions they have. So you don't even have to say, does anyone have any questions? You just kick it off with those questions. And they did. So that was like really powerful and helpful.
That's a ninja strategy you got there, Ernie. That's so good. And I also love just to mention, we don't have time to go real deep in this, but how you just briefly mentioned, oh yeah, and I had Zoom set up and it was running, open as office hours. I had somebody manning that. Like that is a whole that's boom. That is a huge creative asset that you could have if you are in an industry, especially a professional industry where people want to be able to connect with you or ask you questions, and maybe Facebook is not the most appropriate spot. You can have just a Zoom ongoing, like Ernie was just saying right here, have somebody managing it, your assistant, you, whoever, and people can pop in and out of that. That's a huge over deliver, a huge value that they could have. I could even see like maybe having speakers kind of on there. Well, anyways, like there's a lot you could do with it. We can get it like super creative, and that's the importance here. Our whole goal is to evolve virtual summits, and Ernie right here has done a phenomenal job of taking it to the next level, especially for all you professionals out there. Better be taking notes. Matter of fact, he's already put some notes together for you. We'll get that to you in a moment. But as we wrap this up, Ernie, I'd like to ask two more questions. First one being, if you had to do it all over again, starting from kind of scratch, what main thing would you do different? How would you do it different?
So just to be clear, this isn't necessarily going to apply to everybody, but just think about it this way. So I signed up for the level where I can run ever summits, right? Because I figured, yes, I'm going to want to run this again, and I probably will, and it'll make it easy, and that's cool. I can, of course, clone the summit and do that stuff, and that's great. But if I were going to do another summit, which I am going to do, the thing I would not do, because 2 days is a lot of time for people to commit, especially in this world now. Like at the time we did the summit, it was in May, which is right after the COVID lockdown occurred. People weren't saturated with Zoom meetings like they are now. I think the sweet spot for a summit is a half-day summit. So what I think you can do if you're going to do a lot of these, and why not? Once you got them set up, do them. Is do them in smaller chunks. Like 1 day is good 2 days, is probably pushing it, but 3 days was definitely way too much. I mean, for me, for my audience. So I wouldn't do those. But having done 3 days, the unintended bonus is I can chunk those out. And I had already been thinking about topics. So I can chunk those out as 3-day summits, either cloning them or whatever I have to do, because the content's all done. And it's all done with the assumption that this was a summit. So I'm sure I would just clone it, get rid of everything that isn't the 3 days I want, or the 3 hours or 3 sessions I want. And I would just run it like that. And I mean, so I would think of it as in like, if you have to do a big one, go for it, get it all right, knowing that you're going to parse it out later. And that's really the main thing. Like, I can't think of anything else I would have done those days.
Well, that's just another way. You're right there, thinking outside the box, pushing the envelope, because you do it once. Now you have those little pieces that you can run them and separate. You can even, if you can take different ones, match them together, create a theme for those 3, for example, and use the same one with other 2 and a different theme for that. And if you're still going to charge for them, now you can charge at a lesser price. So it's easier access, or, barrier of entry, lots of stuff. This is somebody, we're going to get you his contact information here shortly. You want to follow, you want to tap into this. Last question I have for you, Ernie, is what's been the biggest positive impact that you've received from hosting this summit?
Well, everyone in the legal industry who's running these summits is thinking like, how did you do this? What worked? And as you know, but the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
The world is going toward online education, big time, okay? And the thing that a lot of people are doing, including me, was creating this content where people can watch it on their own. And that's fine, except there are low completion rates for those courses and stuff like that. So the sweet spot, the place where you have high impact, is to do a live event. The trick is to do a live event in a way that's manageable for you, that produces all the value and everything else. So live courses where cohorts of students go through at the same time, that's the future, right? And there's a couple of different people that I would recommend folks tune into. There's a guy named Tiago Forte, who runs a course called Building a Second Brain, and he's got a sidekick named David Perel, who teaches people how to write online. And those 2 guys they have podcasts and stuff, and they talk to a lot of people who do online education. They're talking about the type 2 course is one where you bring a cohort of people through at the same time. That builds a community among those people. And it's just, and after I'd already done this, and when I realized what they were doing and why they were doing it, I was like, this is online education. This is the way to do it. So I'm redoing all of my courses, and I'm just going to have cohorts, and I'm going to use this software for scheduling live events, and then just and in my case, I'm going to put it on Thinkific, but that's easy. I just take the Vimeo link, paste it over. It's no big deal. But this telegraphs, this is an event during this time period. And you want that. It makes people feel excited to know that they're going to go through something together with other people. And even though it's unusual, they have to wrap their head around the fact that it happens in a certain window of time. So I guess the only constraint I'd have in using your software is if I said, well, I'm going to do this over 6 weeks. The software doesn't say that there's 6 weeks, but I could have it, be multiple different events each week, because it's not going to run, every day the whole time, right? But live events that are virtual, this is the future. It is.
Good. That's so good. Well, great impact there. We'll take that for sure. Ernie, this has been phenomenal. You've dropped so much incredible value in this session. You're going to have to rewatch this, because he's just giving you, especially any of you in the professional industry, take this information now and hang it up on your wall. Everyone else, there's so much value that you could take and implement in your niches as well. You're going to see all of Ernie's information here next to the video. Reach out to him, follow him on social, like his stuff. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer any questions you want to send his way.
And I'm in your Facebook group. So, if you're in the Facebook group and you ping me in there, for sure, that'll be the easiest way for me to respond. Plus, everybody in there will all see the answer to these questions. Because being an online educator, I know that the best thing is when people ask me questions to share it in a place where the greatest number of people can see that and then think, oh, well, I have a question about that and so forth. So you've already got a Facebook group. I'm in it. If people use my name in there, I will respond, upload stuff, whatever. Yeah.
There you go. So you got him right there in the Facebook group. Also, he's given us an incredible special Summit Talks bonus, which you're going to see right below this video. Ernie, if you want to tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the bonus is when I gave a talk to a lawyer group, they were saying, well, we want you to tell us about the things you learned that were good, the things you do differently, things like that, feedback you got from people about the summit. So I took, the comments that I got from people saying why they liked it and whatever, and I pasted it all into a document, created it, branded it, made it look nice. It's a PDF, and that is the PDF download that you'll get. So you'll get the same information. And I took a lot of time because I wanted to help them. But then when you said, do you have a bonus? I'm like, well, clearly this is the thing that would probably be of the greatest interest to people here. So that's my bonus.
Well, thank you very much for that. Grab that right there. He's listed out all the things, the challenges, the things to think about, all of that right there in this document. So make sure you grab it right now. You'll forget later. So just grab it now. Again, Ernie, thank you so much for giving us your time, your energy, and your wisdom. Thank you.
Hey, dude, thank you. Because that software not only saved my ass, it made me a prince, not a pauper.
Oh, man. Well, I am so happy to hear that. Thanks again. And thank you, all you Summit hosts, for hanging out with Ernie and I. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, your host here on Summit Talks. And remember, your message matters. And one of the most powerful ways to get that message out to the world is with a virtual summit. Oh, and don't forget, grab your Summit Super Pack, which has your all access pass, my one-day summit formula, and 6 months of the virtual summit software, plus some very special bonuses from our partner speakers and sponsors. But it's not going to be there forever. So grab it now before it's gone, and I'll see you on the next session.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.